like I said, it's always been there. So again, it's it's not new where you have to basically choose, or you have no choice but to choose and mimic the fighting style of another character. That is one thing I will say about WWE and some other games. At times they do allow you to have the choice of using a different style, or mixing different styles of different characters into your character. And I do agree with Angry Joe. Hopefully Namco will, in Project Soul, if they do a 6th game, will take that concept and say, you know what, we need to allow people when they create their characters to mix in other fighting styles of other characters. So it's not just, you're not just using Ivy's character, or you're not just using Edgemaster's character style. You're using a mixture of all of them. So hopefully, like Joe said, that's the next evolution in the games. But again, like I said, the more you progress through the quick battles and the story modes, like Joe said, the more you will unlock. And there are others you do have to obtain, not just courtesy of quick battle, but you also have to obtain them through DLC. Fortunately, you do get some free DLC. You do. But these are basically compatible packs that allow you, when the time is right, to purchase the stuff purchase the DLC. And the DLC is, costumes and an additional character, which will fill out the 28 to 29 characters. But it will definitely, it's definitely worth it if you want more unique attire. You got, like with the DLC, you got for your creation, you've got skeleton, if you will, which I think a lot of people have probably used. You got modern clothing. You got all types of clothing and unique items as well. Like I said, skeleton costumes, modern costumes and clothing, Western stuff like that. So Tekken clothing. So it's really a unique. You really get a unique package there. You really get some unique packages there in the DLC for your to use on your created character or your modified established character. So it's really fun. The only thing is, like I said, the only free part about the DLC for that is you got to get the compatible packs, and then you got to pay like maybe 80 or something points, depending on if you're an Xbox user or not, just to get these costumes and bits and pieces to use for your creations. Now, let me say this, as far as the creation mode goes, just because you've created somebody doesn't mean you can't modify them, doesn't mean you can't, delete them and change them into somebody else. You can do that. You can do that with any game, and I'm glad they have that option. So even if you don't want to stick with someone that's based on your family member, you could say, okay, I'm going to take this character out, or I'm going to turn him into somebody else. And you can do that. So that's really cool. But again, I do agree with Joe that if they do a 6 Soul Calibur, that what they need to do is take an example from, let's say, the WWE games done by Ukes and now 2K or Take-Two, and basically have people be able to use different fighting styles or mix in different fighting styles of the different characters instead of just mimicking, a certain character. But again, I can understand. But I do understand why they would do that. I would understand why they did that, because they put so much effort, because the in-game engine is used mostly for the story and for the fact that most of the in-game engine is done beautifully for the CGI and stuff. I can understand that perhaps they didn't have enough room maybe on their left to say, okay, let's let the people mix in different fighting styles of the different characters. So hopefully, when they do a 6.1, either it's for the current consoles or the next gen consoles, that you'll get that option to not just only have beautifully done CGI moments in story mode like we got with this, but also, and not only have a beautiful in-game engine, but also have the option to mix together fighting styles of different characters for your created character. Another thing I think hopefully they'll evolve into and kind of update into is something else that other fighting games like WWE, and I'm sure other fighting games have done this as well, have done, and that's allow you to download the variety of characters from around the world. So you can have more than just your character, and you can actually modify said character as well. That you would download. So hopefully they'll allow you the opportunity in the future to download other people's characters as well. But again, the creation mode is just a fun, unique thing. It's really something that I'm glad fighting games like Soulcalibur have. The one thing about Soulcalibur is, and I will give them this, because the in-game engine, so as Angry Joe has put it, so beautifully done. The in-game engine is so beautifully done. The one thing I will say about it is that when you play as your created character, you don't have to worry about it sort of slowing down or doing this and doing that, kind of having any hiccups. It works perfectly. And again, I think that goes back to the fact that you have to use an established character's fighting style. You have to mimic it, because that way it's a smoother transition. And when you go into those Brave Edge and Critical Attack Edge sequences in your match, it'll at least let your character be in those cutscenes without a hindrance, and without any problems. So again, I can understand that why. I can also still understand that that's another reason as to why they didn't allow you to allow us to mix in other portions, other fighting portions and styles from other characters. So I can understand that. But hopefully as fighting games evolve, that problem will no longer be a hindrance, and you'll be able to play a game like this with your created character that would have a mixture of fighting styles, and that when they would do the super move, their Brave Edge or Critical Edge attack move, as in this game, there won't be no hindrance, there won't be no problems. It'll be a smooth transition. So hopefully that's, like as everybody has said, that's the next evolution. Overall, for me, even though it took me about a year to finish this, and there's still more to play. I mean, quick battle is still a unique concept. Versus battle, I still have more characters to create. That's the one thing I like about this as well. It gives you the different options, especially now, on different. It allows you to have three. Well, when it first came out, just two, but now 3 different file options. You see, like I mentioned in the first part, my nephew has the entire memory card to work with, basically, when it comes to creating different characters, to let his creativity be unleashed. And for me, I've got about 5 slots left on the hard drive. But like I said, I can modify and delete other characters if I want to. But then also, I have cloud storage now, so I can use cloud storage to basically do 50 more characters. Besides that, it's a really, really fun game to play. It gives you a lot of options. I will say this: I didn't play Legendary mode yet, and I don't think I'm going to for a while, because if what Angry Joe said is true, it's going to be a pain in the butt. It is. And because honestly, if you think Nightmare is hard, and believe me, Nightmare is hard. It took me about 3 times, basically 3 times, to beat him in the story mode with Zoel. It took me 3 times. It also So, yeah, it takes me about 3 times to beat him. It took me on a 3rd try with Zoel to beat him. And the way, let me give anybody advice on that. If you're having trouble beating him in story mode, what you need to do is just start using the slide move, kicking move, if you will, of Zoel's, and try to get him towards the edge so he'll fall off into a ring out. That's the best option you have. And I think that even goes for arcade mode, because the arcade mode, Nightmare is indeed the final boss in arcade mode, and he is hard to beat. Believe me, I've used my created characters, I've used established characters, and I've come so close. I've come literally, folks, this close to beating him. And I've always failed at the end. So it's hard, but when you do beat him, it'll be worthwhile. Believe me. So it's very, very unique, very, very cool. Now I will say this though, before I end this, going back to creation mode, going back to that. You can use most of the characters on the roster, including the DLC character, with the exception of Ezio from Assassin's Creed and Allegor. Yeah, Allegor. You can't use him. Allegor, who is an established Soulcalibur character, you can't use him. You can't mimic his style. Now I'm thinking, come on. I mean, I understand Ezio is an Assassin's Creed character. I can understand that. He's from a different company and all that. He's from Ubisoft. Off and stuff. I can understand that. But Allegor, you can't, Allegor, whatever you want to call him, you can't use him. You can't use his style to mimic. Are you freaking crazy? You can't do that? And to me, I'm thinking, why have a character that's an established Soulcalibur character in the game, on the roster, if you cannot mimic him? Why have him? He doesn't even play no part in the story. And yet you can't mimic him? I mean, one person on YouTube I was watching had to basically modify him into Dr. Doom. That's right, because they couldn't mimic the style, they had to modify the character. And maybe I can understand why, because Allegor is probably the most powerful. I mean, let me put it to you like this. When he summons his chair, if you will, your life, everybody says that Nightmare is hard. That Nightmare can cut down 2/3 or 3/4 or whatever you want to call it, half of your health before you even get up. 2/3 of your health or 3/4 of your health before you even get up, right? Allegor, and I'm sorry if I pronounced that wrong, is such a powerful character that, let's say you could be not even halfway there on your health meter, halfway down on your health meter, he'll summon his chair, launch it down on you, sit on it, and boom, you're done. So maybe I can understand that's why they don't allow you to mimic the character. But again, if he's going to be part of the franchise, why not allow people to do that? I mean, I can understand Ezio, I do get that, but come on. You should have let us at least mimic him. But overall, like I said, I thought this game, but overall besides that, I thought this game was good. I enjoyed it. I understand, again, people like MV Joe have their difference of opinions when it comes to Soulcalibur and how he feels it was done, especially with arcade mode and story mode and all that. I get that. But to me, I enjoyed it. I was cool with it. I loved the story. To me was good. Again, you get your share of CGI towards the end, and it's really a unique game. And I think if you're really into fighting games, or if you're interested in the Soulcalibur series, this is definitely one to pick up. So, That's all I'm going to say for now. Thank you all for watching. God bless. Comment down below, and I'll talk to you later.